This is a reading by Gaynor Bowen of Mary Williams's Memories of Bryn, written by her son David Williams, a retired school teacher. My name is Mary Williams, née Brown, and would like to share some of my memories of the village of Bryn Troed Gam, which was shortened to Bryn in the 1920s. My grandfather Watkin Jones and grandmother Mary Ann née Harry both moved to Bryn in 1860 from Carmarthenshire and Ceredigion. They married and lived in a small holding called Penrhyw, which was between Farteg Fawr Farm and Gallcwmt Farm. Their son John Harry Jones was born there later to become Mayor of Port Talbot. The family moved to 1 Bryn Cottages, and there in 1925 I was born and lived with my grandparents, parents and 3 sisters. Welsh was the language spoken by the majority of the villagers up to the 1940s. Indeed, in 1890 there were only 5 families who were non-Welsh speaking, and those soon realised to be part of the community they would need to learn Welsh. My grandfather died in 1937 and could understand English but not speak it. The Welsh chapels of Bryn Sion, Jerusalem and Carmel had their own choirs and drama groups. The village mixed choral society had over 100 choristers and won the main choral competition in the National Eisteddfod held in Liverpool in the 1920s. The annual village Cymanfagani singing festival was always held in Jerusalem Chapel, and it was filled to capacity with benches having to be in the aisles. The last Cymanfa was held in 1960, and my son David opened the service with a prayer and recited a psalm, Jerusalem eventually closing in 2000. Directly opposite Bryn Cottages was the Bryn Board School, opened by the Carmarthen Copper Company. The Anglicans worshipped here before St Tidvil's was built. Above the schoolroom was a large room where dances were held. This school closed in 1900. I married David Williams, who was born in Tilat, later named Farteg Row. We moved to 4 Bryn Cottages, which had once been a farmhouse. The water supply for Bryn Cottages was provided by a tap in the wall near number 4, and when dried up, everyone had to go down to Meadow Row for water. My son David was born in 1948 and was brought up here, and we relied for light on a large oil lamp downstairs and candles upstairs. On rainy days, I would dry my washing inside the empty schoolroom next door. Later, we moved to Rowland's Cottages and later to Coronation Street. I attended the Bryn Primary School opposite Rowland Cottages until I was 14. Miss Miriam Harry and Miss Polly Walters were very talented teachers who were brought up in the village. They established one of the earliest Urdd Gobaith Cymru, Welsh youth organisation in Wales. We were encouraged to sing, recite and dance in the Eisteddfodau throughout the county. Later, teachers from Port Talbot joined the staff and unfortunately had little interest in Welsh culture or history of the village. I left school at 14 and went to work in Nantyffyllon Co-op, unlike most of the other schoolgirls who left home to go into service in London. I would walk home via Neath Road and near the Maesteg golf links, would turn right and cross the beautiful hayfields of Dresiog Farm. Sadly, much of the natural beauty of Bryn was destroyed by the Forestry Commission. Later, I worked in the desk in the Bryn Co-op, which at that time was flourishing. Every Thursday, I would bank hundreds of pounds in a Maesteg bank. The money was safely put in my bag, and it was at my responsibility travelling by myself with all that money on a Llynfi bus. In the 1960s, I became cook in the school, and later in the modern primary school until retiring in the 1970s. We were very fortunate in Bryn to have a wonderful miners' institute near the old school. There was a library, rooms where sewing classes, whist drives and committee meetings were held. Also, there was a magnificent hall, a large stage with anterooms either side where concerts, eisteddfodau and dramas were regularly held. Also, there was a Friday dance every week, and it was a great place to hold village celebrations and New Year's Eve dances. There was a wonderful sense of pride in the village, and everyone supported annual carnivals and gardening shows. Sport was always popular, especially bowls, tennis, soccer and rugby teams. My husband David was in the Bryn Wanderers rugby team that won the Burton Cup. 3 packed buses took the supporters to the final. On their return, hundreds of excited villagers greeted the team, and the Burton Cup was proudly carried through the village. That was a day to remember.